SHAC meeting today, and we'll let other people hop on when they can. I'm sure our PE teachers will join us when they are done with lunch duty or whatever else is on their plates. Welcome. I think most of the people on this call know each other, but we're going to do our introductions as we always do. So I'll start out. I'm SJ Menifee. I'm the Director of Communications at Rapoport Academy and the SHAC coordinator. And I'm going to pass it to what I can see, which is Chef Nate. And then we'll, if you're an employee, go ahead and sound off, and then we'll have other people who are joining us.
Hello, Nathaniel Gay, aka Chef Nate, Food Service Director for the district. First year in child nutrition, so learning a lot and excited about making improvements.
Hey, Rebecca Rumsey, SPED early childhood over at FLU, faculty rep, and longtime mom also of Rapoport kiddos.
Hi, I'm Katrina Thomas. I'm the parent liaison for the school district.
I'm Ashley Ugolano. I'm the counselor at the secondary campus.
There's Hernandez. Can you unmute? There you go.
Yeah.
You're good.
I am Amber Hernandez. I am the district nurse.
All right. Chiquinta, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Chiquinta Fisher-Hill. I am a longtime parent at Rapoport Academy. I served 3 years on the board and just rolled off in December. And I'm still here, and I'm glad to be part of SHAC. So I feel like I live at Rapoport.
We're glad you're here too. Miss Rashonda.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Rashonda Farmer-Neal, and I'm a member of the board.
And last but certainly not least, Trinity.
Hi, I'm Trinity. I'm a grad student. I'm interning with Miss Sarah Jane, and I am trying to be helpful and take some notes.
She maybe undersells herself. She's helping out a lot with communications, and specifically is very interested in looking at grant coordination for things in the wellness area. So SHAC, I think, is going to be a great place for her to come and learn some of the goals that we have here. Coach Whitty, I see you. Do you want to say hi real quick, or do you need to get your lunch?
I just got my lunch, so now I'm ready.
You're good. You're good.
Good to go.
Fabulous. Coach Whitty is our PE coach at the MacArthur campus, which is 2nd through 4th grade. All righty. Well, we're going to dive in. Unless there's any other questions or concerns, emotional outbursts. No? Okay. Let me share my screen. Make sure that's working. It's hard on a laptop. Okay. There we go. So SHAC, School Health Advisory Council. Just a reminder as to what we are and what we're doing here. We are a district level advisory council that is really focused on ensuring that the local community values are reflected in our health education and instruction. We are a voice for parents in the community and a way to share the importance of health for our district. We review health curriculum and make recommendations on health-related topics. It is based on what this group wants to do is what SHAC becomes. It is about advocating for health, amplifying the voices of our community, and creating goals and vision and a plan for supporting the whole child throughout our district. When we look at what we do with the wellness plan and our wellness policy, we're always looking at aligning with the whole school, whole community, whole child model, which means that health is not one subject. It is all the subjects listed here: PE, health education, family engagement, employee wellness, physical environment, nutrition and health services is what we're going to be hearing about today, and mental health, which is really, really important. So we're looking at it from a holistic point of view. And really something that we've defined in the last year or so is that our mission is to partner with our community and develop and recommend effective health, wellness, and safety education and programming for Rapoport Academy Ravens. So that is what we do. Always like to start out with vision and then bring it down to practicals. So each time that we've hosted SHAC, since I've been in charge of it, I've tried to just bring in different voices so that you can hear what's happening in different areas of wellness from that big circle of the whole community, whole child wheel. Today, we're going to get some updates from our school nurse and food service department. So thank you so much, Amber Hernandez and Nathaniel Gay, for being here. I'm going to do a quick slide about each of them, and then they're going to get to share. Y'all don't all need to just hear me talk. But some of the things that I wanted to pull, both from our wellness policy and from just in general, like the vision of what each of these roles does. So a school nurse serves a pivotal role bridging the gap between healthcare and education by conducting comprehensive assessments, managing individualized plans of care, and making sure that students' health needs are met. Helping the educational process and proving that healthy students are better prepared to learn. That is the goal of a school nurse. And Nurse Hernandez, here are her updates, and I'll let you take it away. And I love this photo of you from last year. We'll have to plan another photo shoot of you providing services before School Nurse Day. I love having new photos.
Okay, I don't know how I was twisting my legs there, but that's neither here or there. I'm looking at it now like, whoa, that looks crazy. Okay, so again, I am Nurse Hernandez. I'm the district nurse, so I have all 5 campuses at Rapoport. So we are most recently working on a chronic illness form. It was brought up by another parent. I've had a couple parents actually who have kind of inquired about having a chronic illness form. So it's basically going to be a form that the parents and their child's physician will fill out if their child has a chronic illness, not just like, something, oh, hey, they had bronchitis once, it's more for our students who have illnesses that require sometimes I'll have to stay home, even if they don't require a doctor's visit. It's just like, hey, their symptoms are really bad. It's manageable at home, but we don't want to send them to school. And that way, everybody's in the loop about what's going on with that student, and it kind of covers them. It won't like be just a blanket excuse for their absences. They will still need to send in a note saying, hey, they were sick, but if they have that form on file, we'll know, well, this is why. And it'll have like lots of details of our guidelines to making sure they're still staying within that 90% rule and they're here at least 90%. And if not, working with their teachers and kind of admin to get them caught up. So I have had a lot of inquiries about hygiene, especially with our middle schoolers. If you've ever had a middle schooler, they stink. Like they just stink. And I think it's just their little hormones are changing, their bodies are changing, and they are not really sure because not every parent knows how to have that conversation to say, baby, you stink. We need to change your soap. You need deodorant every day, not just once. Every day. So I have been multiple times. You go to PE at 8:30 in the morning and you're there at school till 4 and you've been outside for break. By the time those kids get home, I'm like, well, hello. So we are working on some conversations and some hygiene tips because this has come up quite often, not just with like a certain age group, it's come up even in high school. All of our kids come from different backgrounds, and sometimes, unfortunately, their home environment is not the best, or they may not be having those open conversations with their parents or their guardians. So I am going to start sending out just little tips on Parent Square. That is one of my goals for the rest of the school year. They won't be like overwhelming, like where you're getting something every day, but it will be like once a month, just some little quick tips that are simple and easy to follow for hygiene things. Because sometimes adults don't even know. Like we've all passed by an adult where you're like, whoo, hey, let's have a talk. So just little tips for them. And I'm also going to be meeting with a couple of students individually, because sometimes when we do things in a group, it works. Sometimes it works better for me just having a one-on-one conversation. Like, hey, tell me how often you're bathing. What do you do when you bathe? Because you might just say you're taking a bath every day. They're like, yep. But I've learned that you've got to be very specific with certain kids. And it's like, hey, are you using soap and water? Are you rinsing the soap completely off of your body every time? So just having those little conversations. And then check-ins for our students with health conditions. So I have a couple of students who have they require a little bit more of my attention. So I'm kind of floating in between campuses, trying to see them more. But one of my goals for the rest of this school year and then to take into the next year is to start having like these weekly or semi-monthly check-ins with them, just to be able to check in like 10 to 15 minutes, see how they're doing, especially for my kiddos who are diabetic, because as they are growing and learning, their bodies are changing a lot. And sometimes their sugars are so imbalanced because of puberty, you know, like their body's trying to figure it out. They're going through this growth spurt where now they're 2 shoe sizes up and they're 4 inches taller, and their body's like, hey, now our sugar is way up here or way down here. So just checking in with those students so they know, hey, I am the nurse. Because I've had a lot of kids like, we got a nurse, and I'm like, you don't know that because you're one of my healthy kids, so I don't have to see you as often. But just trying to do those check-ins just so that they know, hey, you got a little extra support, and so that our admins feel supported as well. So some of my goals, I do want to start enlisting some of our high school students to help with health screenings going forward. So the health screenings are pretty much done for this school year. I'm just doing kind of as needed ones as requested, but we do the bulk of them at the beginning of the year. And so for the 2026 to 2027 school year, I'll be sending out ahead of time notification to parents. It'll be on Parent Square, and we'll also send a letter home saying, hey, we're going to be doing these mandatory health screenings. You can opt out. Most of the time, 98% of our parents are like, do them because I think my kid needs glasses. So it's a lot easier for you to check first before I just take them to the eye doctor, or, you know, as well with their hearing. So we do health, hearing, vision, and spinal. And of course, parents can always opt out, but I'll be sending notification home in advance for next school year. And then I'll also be talking over with some of our Meyer staff to see if I can enlist some of the high schoolers to kind of help with those, because it's really easy, and it's primarily just the vision, because spinal screening is usually just me, because our little preteen girls and teenage girls are like, oh, you're gonna look at my body, and it's like, it's just me and you. It feels a little more comfortable when it's just me and them. But for our vision screening, it would be a lot better if I had like a high school kid. They can see kind of what that's like. Just simply, especially for our pre-Kers, because they can't just cover their eye. They're 4 years old. So I will have some conversations with them to see if they can help. I think it'll be fun for them. I've had it at other campuses that I've done in the past where we've had older kids, like a 6th grader will come and help with the pre-Kers, and they love it. They're like, I get to get out of class and I get to do something different. So especially if they're interested in a health career. And then again, I've already talked to y'all about sending out the tips on Parent Square, just like, especially for upcoming immunizations, because for the meningitis and the Tdap, those are the biggest ones. And the state does, they can audit us, but we do send in those records to the state to check for kindergarten and 7th. That's our main ones that they check for, because that's when pretty much all of your immunization should be done. So 7th grade is when they should have had their Tdap and their meningitis shot, and they can get it as early as like 10 to 11 years old. So sometimes that's 5th grade, but they still have 5th grade and 6th grade to get it done, and 7th grade it has to be done. So this summer, prior to school being let out, I am going to be sending letters home to our 6th grade students, because they'll be going into 7th grade. That way those are done ahead of time. They can have all summer to go get those shots done. It's just 2 shots and then they're done basically until they go off to college, you know, unless they do dual credit, then they may have to get another meningitis later. But I'll be sending those home, and then sending a Parent Square message out to our middle school parents as well, just so that they're like, hey, you've had 2 notifications. I don't have to call and hunt parents down this year. Like, please get your child their shots. And sending out some little healthy goals things. We just had big wave of flu that went out, and we should be kind of coasting, hopefully. But just as we were seeing like different things,
yes.
Fingers crossed, we should be coasting with our health, but just sending out little hygiene and healthy goal tips each month, so that parents are like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, or so. But that is it for me.
Fabulous. Thank you.
I saw some stuff in the chat. Let me check that before I say that's it. Goodbye. Let me look. Scroll, all the AI stuff. Oh, Ms. Fisher, will parent permission be required for student discussion on Q&A with them on personal hygiene habits for bathing? That's a I don't know question, because it's going to be general information. But if they did that health form, if they signed yes on that health form, that's kind of a coverall for the hygiene conversations. And so
and that's Skyward, right?
Yes, and I will have to look through and see which of our students. We only had a handful total for all the campuses whose parents either said no, or who don't want, or who just did it wrong on accident, they're like, hey, I clicked that on accident and I didn't mean to do that. So I'll go through that list prior to those conversations, and those kids will just be excluded from those. So we're respecting the parents' wishes. And then on vision screenings, students that wear glasses, contacts, we do not have them on their person that day. They'll be retested when they do have them. Yes, no, I come back. I just say, do you have your glasses? And sometimes I'll go ahead and screen them anyway, because sometimes they can actually see. And I'm like, you got 20/20. I don't know why you're wearing glasses, but they prescribed them for you, at some point. But if the student like literally just cannot see anything, I'm like, I'll have to come back another day. I had one today at one of the campuses. I'm like, I'm gonna have to come back because you don't have your glasses. And I know you can't see because
That's probably my child.
they can't see. So I'm like, there's no point. You're gonna fail. There's no point. I will come back. So I just come back and test them. And sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 trips before. And by that time, though, normally I'll reach out on Parent Square to the parent, hey, I will be on campus on this day. Please make sure your child has their glasses with them. And then even still, they come up to the office and they're like, oh, I forgot them in my backpack. Where's your backpack? In the car. And you're like, lovely. So, and then can the high school student receive some sort of documented internship from assisting with the screenings? So sorry. No, all the questions are perfect and wonderful. I love all the questions, but that's something I'll have to talk with them about, because this will be the first time doing that. So I'm not sure how that works exactly, but I would love to have, I was a student back many years ago. In high school, we had a nursing program and I did clinicals and I did all the things. So it was amazing and I loved it. But I'm not sure how that works. I'll have to get with
Miss Pack.
Them at the high school. Yeah, Miss
Yes.
Pack, and see how
Okay.
that works. Because I would love to have that. I'm like, all the help that I can have, amazing. Because I do over 900 screenings by myself each school year. So well over 900. And having even just one little helper makes a world of difference. So I will get with them and see how that would work and how often they would be able to help.
Thank you.
Any other questions anybody has that they thought of or anything?
So you have your goals, which was really helpful. Did you have any specific needs? That's something that I'm always looking for, and something that SHAC wants to help with. So, I know it's hard because you don't have like a home base too, which is.
Yes, I think my biggest need really is the help with the screenings at the beginning of the year. That's why I was thinking having the students help. That would be a huge help, especially at Flu Ellen, because I have to screen the entire campus, pre-K, kinder, and first. So that's every single student, and it's 2 screenings per child. So that's a vision and a hearing. And if they fail hearing, then we're required to retest them within 3 to 4 weeks. So those even more. So having that help each year was going to be like huge weight off of my shoulders, because trying to screen pre-K, kinder, first, third, fifth, seventh, eighth, and any students who are new to the district, that puts me close to 1,000 screenings that I'm having to complete alone, just the physical labor of it. And then I also we have to do what's called an M40 and an M60 on each student. And so that's me physically handwriting all these papers that I have to do, and I have to put them all in Skyward. So I'm really, really busy in the fall of each year. So having a student just to help is my biggest need, really.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for defining that a little more for me, just so that I can hear that. That is a lot.
Yeah.
And we like to point out that Nurse Fernandez is part-time.
I am part-time, 2 days a week.
That's good. We are grateful for you. Okay, well, hang in there just a few more minutes in case other questions do bubble up, because they might. And we'll switch gears here to, so interestingly enough, I pulled your information about school nursing, and I realized that there isn't anything in our wellness policy about school nursing, but it is actually required for us to have a school nurse. And what I read out is the definition of that. But it might be that when we review our policy again, that we need to add in there some information about school nurse wellness checks and things like that, because it isn't currently in our policy. And I was shocked. So in our wellness policy, our nutrition guidelines are that all schools within the district participates in the USDA child nutrition programs, including the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program. And that they are committed to offering school meals that are consistent with the federal school meal nutrition standards and the USDA Smart Snacks and school nutrition standards, which is something I know that Chef Nate has learned a whole lot about in the last year. We will promote healthy food and beverage choices for all students throughout the district, as well as encourage participation in the school meal programs. Nutrition promotion, including marketing and advertising nutritious foods and beverages to students. We will also teach, model, and encourage and support healthy eating by all students, providing nutrition education that is designed to provide students with knowledge and skills necessary to promote and protect their health. So I know that that happens within curriculum of various classes as well. But those are all of the things that are sort of outlined currently in our policy as to what we do in child nutrition. So I always like to start with policies to make sure that we're hitting those marks. I know that Chef Nate and his team is working really hard to do that. So here are his updates, and I'll let you take it away. Oh, you got to unmute though. Hang on.
My apologies. Hello again, everybody. When we start by, I'm happy to say that we have seen traction on seeing the students excited about when we have the more fresh items. And we've been getting a lot of good positive feedback. So I want to keep that traction going and keep growing with it as we learn and grow with all the policies and mandates too, which all are good. I mean, they've reduced the sugars allowed in schools, which I think is awesome. So learning those things while, we're hands-on, training the staff and trying new cooking techniques, as well as seeing new foods. We still are dealing with supplies and commodities and stuff that were mandated a year ago. I actually just submitted next school year's information to the state for commodities and stuff. So we'll still have some things that we'll have this year that we'll probably never see again once we went through that inventory. But we've been getting very creative, so I'm happy with the staff has gotten creative with me as well and trying new things and making some of those things better than how we receive them as we move forward to get away from the processed stuff. For example, moving into next month and for sure next school year, instead of processed meats that have all kinds of additives and stuff, we'll be getting fresh ground beef and fresh chicken and actually cooking it from scratch as much as possible, so we don't have all those additives. Same things with the fruits and vegetables, going from the canned foods. I'm happy to say I submitted 0 canned products for next school year to get away from the sodium and additives. Fresh, frozen, and fresh was the way we went. So excited about that. So good things are still coming. As we all know, that breakfast, I think a lot of people think desserts are breakfast foods, and they're not. Pancakes, French toast, cinnamon rolls, those are all desserts. So we're going to sneak them in there every now and then and try to make sure they get that yogurt and cheese stick and the fresh strawberries with it. But I definitely focusing more on continuing to make our own burritos from scratch like we served this morning. Building our own English muffin sandwiches, croissant sandwiches, just things that are healthier and better and get them started for the day. And hopefully that word of mouth will grow. I still think we have quite a bit of students and parents that don't realize that there's been these kind of changes. So we don't have a very big breakfast participation, so we like to see that grow. So I think word of mouth, right? People start bragging about the burritos, and oh man, they always have the fresh bananas and strawberries in the morning. You gotta get breakfast, still waiting one day a week for lunch or whatnot. So glad all those things are happening, but we get a little more consistent as we get closer to summer, moving into next year, as we build our official core cycle menus. That we'll see the same thing cycle through 4 to 6 weeks, and then we'll have our seasonal fun introductions and stuff. So excited about that. I'm definitely excited at how much more comfortable the students are getting with the culinary team, the food nutrition team, on sharing the feedback too. Oh, we love this, or hey, what if, can we get this? Can we get that? I'm starting to get more requests from the students, which I think is great. So that tells me that we're in the right direction. So really excited.
Yeah, or I really like those chicken drumsticks. Can I have 2 next time?
Yes.
Or that, where you've been able to take what you're already doing and give maybe a larger portion sizes based on feedback from different groups. I know that that's based on what you have, but
Oh, I will share 2 more things. I know we had gotten everybody excited about the salad bar. It's still on the to-do list. Just getting through all the red tape between the health department and the state on how a salad bar is to function, especially in our setup with our traffic flow. We don't have the 30-foot line at some of the bigger school districts that everything has its own place. We're putting a lot of things in a small amount of space. But that's gonna open up a lot of options for the students. We're also working toward the offer versus serve, specific to high school, where they have more than one option, that we've seen for years. So we hope that'll get the students excited, see more participation, more consumption of good foods, while reducing our waste. Right now, I think seems that everyone's like, we have to go through the line, we have to grab a tray. Even if I only want one item on this tray, I'm going to take it, throw everything else away. So when the options come about, they can go through the line and say, oh, well, I would rather have the chicken Caesar salad versus the meatloaf today, and try to, those are on the list to introduce, to help reduce our waste and get more participation.
that's great. Well, you also had some challenges listed here, which is to be expected because you're balancing a lot.
Yeah, so staffing. Unfortunately, we have been short-staffed since the first week of school, and so we've had a lot of temps in here. So we'll get someone trained, and we got to start training over again. And usually they have zero school experience, and sometimes zero food experience. So that's kind of hindered some of the consistent growth as far as cutting fresh fruits and vegetables every single day. And as we move forward too and create new recipes and menus, we realize, there's some equipment missing that would be helpful if we could get those items. An immersion blender, I know some of you probably seen the short ones you can get from, you might have at home to make your little purees, whatnot, but I need a 3-foot one.
Whoa.
But it'll be a game changer for all types of recipes and making things from scratch. And I'll kind of touch base on the waste already, that we're just, as we get better foods, fresh foods, and get cleaned out of this old inventory and things that are being delivered to us, hopefully that will help with the waste too. But it'd be very helpful if we got some more common knowledge out there with the students and the parents that we don't have to waste it. You don't just have to go through the line, take it, and throw it away. I've had some students grab a tray, take the milk, and throw the whole tray away. When I ask, they're like, "Oh, well, I didn't want to pay 35 cents for the milk, so I got the whole tray." So that kind of stuff breaks my heart to see the food going in the trash to avoid the 35-cent. So maybe we can come up with a plan that the milk doesn't cost 35 cents, but that is a state requirement.
A state requirement that we charge for the milk if they don't take the tray, right?
Yeah, it's an odd thing. Hopefully that'll change. At least they're getting better milk in the schools, so maybe now they'll let up on that 35.
Oh yeah, do you want to share about that? When does that change come about?
So it's coming up real soon. They're just waiting. Obviously, since things are submitted, food nutrition is submitted a year in advance for school year, and they the milk manufacturers got to make sure they're meeting that sugar requirement and all that stuff. Y'all, I apologize. One of the other campuses is blowing my phone up, and now someone's knocking on the door. I need to excuse my.
No worries. Go for it, Chef Dan. I got you. I think one of the things he was going to share about is that forever it's been 1% milk. The state has recently approved us to move back to whole milk, which will be a lot more nutritious and not so watery. He was sharing with me that one school was like watering their garden with milks because it was so much water that it wasn't enough milk to be able to spoil or do anything strange. And so most of the time, if a kid does drink milk, it's chocolate milk because at least then it has some flavor, because that 1% white milk might as well be drinking water, truly. So that is a positive thing, and that he shared that will be coming soon, hopefully. And I will say that Chef Nate and I have been working on retooling the way that the job posting for his positions is worded and looks. We just got a new job posting up today, specifically highlighting the fact that it is a cook position, so that we're trying to find people who have experience in kitchens. That it's been a challenge in some ways taking on the current staff, who are fabulous people, but who are not used to having to do as much meal prep as he's wanting to see by cutting up all of the potatoes and things like that. So people with some culinary background, we're going to be advertising with like the TSTC Culinary School. Even if we get someone for a year who can come in and help do some of that heavy scratch prep, it's going to make a big difference in the meals that they're able to produce more from scratch. So Chiquinta, I see your question about breakfast, and I will see if I can get him to answer that in the future. I think it's always a challenge to get him here for SHAC because it's right in the middle of lunch, guys.
No, it's okay. It's just, that's been something when I
Yeah.
start researching stuff, I go down a rabbit trail, and I remembered I meant to bring that up before. So, and it's not a rush, it's not implemented, just maybe in the future it can be considered.
Absolutely. I will say the breakfast is great, and it's another thing that I like to point out is that it is free for staff, which is really, really nice too. So
Bring it back for parents.
I know, right? We should.
I miss that.
I know. And even if like we had to pay $3 or something for a tray, I used to go eat with my kids for lunch, and that's how I got to know their friends. And you
Yep.
hear people's names and you're like, I don't know who any of these people are. Your kids are new at school and they're in
You can-
kindergarten and they can't explain anything to you either. So
Yeah, maybe that's something we consider. I wouldn't mind paying
I know
$3
that
for a
they have
meal.
leftovers
You
too.
can't go through a drive-through with $3.
No, it's true. I will put that down as a note, both of those real quick. I'm taking notes on my phone since I only have my one screen here. But this is the time to start talking about changes for next year. So, parent breakfast or lunch options for 26, 27. Okay. Well, I think we did a lot of the Q&A while we were talking through, but if anybody else had a thought that came up at all for Nurse Hernandez or anything, or just want to tell her that she's doing such a good job, because you are doing such a good job.
I think it's amazing because I was one of the ones that asked about the chronic illness form. So yay. She and I have been working on that since she started. Since she started here, she and I have been trying to get that done. And I am so excited. I mean, it'll help AJ for a year and a little bit, but it'll help all the other kiddos coming up that may need it. So
Because help me understand that also, it's like improving the ability for students to actually be at home sick, but maybe if they don't see a doctor, then they don't get that excused note. But they also, am I making sense?
yeah, you are. So basically what it does is it lets, so AJ, so my youngest, all of my kids have had a chronic illness form, but he's the youngest, he has chronic migraine and he was diagnosed. And yeah, you're essentially correct. Like they want a doctor's note so that your absence is excused. But the problem is he's treated by a neurologist. He doesn't go to the neurologist every day. He has a migraine that he just can't come to school. He needs to be treated at home with his big meds that he can't take at school because
Right.
they knock him out. So yeah, it allows for those days to just be noted. So they're noted by the state and they're noted by the district that yes, these kids are out, and these kids were out for a lot of days. They're making up their work, they're making up their time, but these kids have this reason. So
I like that.
yeah. So one of my other kids was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when he was 15. So like, it's just
Yeah,
those severe illnesses that don't go away. Like
yeah.
they're there to stay.
One of the students that I mentor in the LEAD program was out for mental health support reasons. And she
Yeah.
mentioned something new that maybe it's new to me because it's been a while since my oldest graduated, but she does, I guess, like for my generation, I called it Saturday school, but she'll go to something on a Friday that helps her make up the missed days or something.
Credit recovery.
Yeah, yes, credit recovery. So I like that. So both those programs together, I think will benefit all the students. So I'm glad Miss Amber is here. Nice to meet you.
Yes, me too. So yeah, we've been working on that for what, a year and a half now, girl. But hey, yay.
That is awesome. One thing that occurs to me that is a good overlap of both school nurse and food service is just caring for our kids with allergies. How has that been going overall as far as documentation, keeping things away from them? It just would be maybe a good thing to talk about. I see your face. Maybe I hit a hot button issue, but I know that we've even talked about better signage or things like that, better identification of what to keep out. So I just want to bring that up while we're all together here.
Yes. So I think the hiccup kind of came when we transitioned over to online re-enrollment, because of course, as our kids grow, sometimes they may have never had a food and then you're like, you know what? You're getting lobster tonight. And you're like, oh, turns out you won't have lobster again in your life because you're highly allergic. And parents don't always remember to communicate that, hey, we found out that my kid is allergic to this food. They can't have it until randomly the kid be like, oh, I can't eat that. And you're like, since when? You're in 8th grade. What do you mean? What happened? And they're like, oh yeah, I was in the hospital. And you're like, these are things we would love to know. So sometimes, unfortunately, parents don't remember all the things like, oh yeah, we know this at home, but I forgot that you're at school 5 days a week and they kind of need to know too. So, and then the FAIR form, which is our food and allergy form that the parents have to fill out if their kids have a severe allergy, is not accessible to them online. So there's literally no way that I will know a child has a food allergy unless I would go through all over 900 records.
I understand. It's the same way with media opt-out. It's the worst.
Yes.
So, and I end up calling every parent that's on the media opt-out list just to make sure. And some of them are like, no, I didn't. You can take their picture. And I'm like, okay, well, I just needed to make sure. Like, and that's not nearly as serious as like, this will cause them to have anaphylactic shock. I mean,
or sometimes parents will just be like, oh yeah, that's their EpiPen. I'm like, for? Why we got an EpiPen? What's that for? Oh yeah, they can't have beans. Oh, wonderful. We need to know that because beans come on the tray sometimes. So just getting the communication to parents and stressing the importance of them filling out the form, because I can always, if a admin or a teacher contacts me and say, hey, did you know this kid had this allergy? They're severely allergic. I can go look in Skyward and go and see, oh yeah, in their online form, but Chef Nate can't see all those things in Skyward. And so he needs the actual forms and to know that. So I think it's just a communication barrier with parents and saying, hey, does your child have any severe food allergies? Not just like, oh yeah, they threw up one time. Well, they ate 5 bowls of ice cream. We're all throwing up together. Like, that's not a severe allergy. It's like the real allergies. Like, my child life is in danger if they have consumed this food. So I'm probably going to put some communication out on Parent Square about that, especially as we get near re-enrollment, saying if they have an allergy, like, please tell me, tell me.
It needs
so that
to be
we can
separate from that re-enrollment form.
It has to be separate, because otherwise I have no way of knowing until our kiddos have a reaction. And I would rather not have a reaction. I would rather just know in advance so that we can completely avoid that, and that everyone's aware, or that in the event that they do have an EpiPen, our staff are well aware, like, this kid has this going on. EpiPen, this is where it's located. This is how you administer it. Because you get the training, the staff gets the training at the beginning of the school year. But if this kid started, after a spot came open and they start like in March or something, they may be like, hey, what do we do again for this? EpiPens are pretty simple to use, but I'm a nurse, so it's simple to me. For someone else that may be completely terrifying, like their life depends on this medicine and you want me to give it, because obviously I'm one person, can't be everywhere all the time on all the campuses.
Sure.
So I think the communication, maybe it'll help quite a bit on Parent Square, sending that out near the time of re-enrollment, and probably coming up with a new process for them to let us
I was
know.
about to say, we could do a digital form for sure.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
We can do a form on our website or through Parent Square specifically, but we need to have something that then makes it accessible to both you and Chef Nate
Yes.
and our campus admin, who they typically maintain a list at the front desk of
Yes.
any of those chronic illnesses, allergies, and things like that. And that's how eventually we can also make sure that there's signage that reminds people, and
Yeah.
my own kids were talking about whether or not they could, well, oh, I eat peanut butter all the time and it's fine. I'm like, but is it fine? I don't know if there's, I mean, like, it's not my place to know individual health information about people in your grade, but if
Yeah.
I know there are people in 6th grade that have some severe allergies.
Yeah.
But nothing
have
was
any nuts.
communicated
And
to
I'm like,
6th grade parents about avoiding
Yes.
bringing certain foods. So it's one of those things, like, once we have a better list, we can communicate better. Go ahead, Mr. Quinta.
Since we're talking about electronic health information being submitted electronically, I know Brownlee's not on this, but can we get a question over to him? IT Brain is coming in to make sure that that HIPAA related information is being encrypted in transit and stored in the same manner. That way, whenever Ms. Hernandez is looking at that, she has a secure and protected environment that she's viewing those records.
Very good point.
And also, this is very random. How come school districts don't allow schools to serve almond milk? How does that get supplied through the state? Because I know there are a lot of kids whose families, and we were one for many years, that had to drop off our own almond milk. And a lot of students they have those allergies. So how could we find a way why is it just plain milk? How come that's not an option?
That's a great question. I know when I was in a class a month ago, when of course the milk changes were being brought up. I'm pretty sure I saw almond milk on the list. I think it's the only required milk is the 1% low fat white milk. Chocolate was actually an option, but then you have to, if I remember correctly, if you have that allergy form filled out or the dietary form needs filled out, if I remember correctly, the school can provide the substituted drink, but the only required milk. So it is an option. I think that's definitely one of the changes that need to be made, because I know at MacArthur we have a couple students that are drinking special milks due to allergies and whatnot.
Yeah, my daughter doesn't need it anymore. She's outgrown her, she was semi-allergic and reactionary to milk protein. I didn't know that was a thing. And so she could eat ice cream and yogurt, but she could not have regular milk, 1% whole, whatever you called it. So she had to have almond milk. Well, at Fluellen, when they open the refrigerator, there's so many cases or cartons of almond milk for those little, the youngest generation at least. So maybe that's something that could be submitted to the board for next and frequent or future years, to have that added in and only served to those students with a medical form on file.
Right.
That'd be a benefit to families.
Absolutely. Sorry, I had to step away. The health department showed up at MacArthur.
Well, I hope everything went well.
Oh, we do grid. And Frenda's over there. She's awesome. She's handling
She
it.
is awesome. She's on top of stuff. Okay.
I just
I
answered
have
some questions.
almond milk, alternative milk options on here as a thing to add to our notes. And that is a really great suggestion. Thank you. Chef Nate, do you feel like you have the information right now that you need about allergies in kids? Or are they telling you like, or you're getting stuff from Amber, but Amber doesn't always know as well. Like she's saying she's finding out sometimes from the kids much later. So
It's
are you
totally,
having to make much alternate meals or provide things for kids who have an allergy, or do they just have to bring their own food?
no, we are providing alternate options. But like Amber was saying, you know, there's a definitely it's a needle in a haystack for me for sure. It's been a hot topic these last few months. As you know, even a student will come up to me personally, well, I can't eat cheese, and I'm like, okay. And then on certain days, like, hey, can I get extra cheese on my salad? I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So if we don't have it on file,
Mm-hmm.
we don't, you know, it's gonna be hard to accommodate, and you know, but we've encountered that there's some things that they might not like, so they say, oh, I can't eat that, or you know, is there an alternate? But we do have some pretty serious ones, you know, the ones with the EpiPens, the ones I learned first.
Mm-hmm.
And but those were brought to my attention either by um a teammate that's been here on campus long enough that they've already gotten to know that student. You know, it wasn't via form. You know, it was shared knowledge. So that made me a little bit nervous. That's why it's been a hot topic the last couple months. And you know, I'm kind of for MacArthur and Llewellyn, and for fifth and sixth. So K through six, I feel pretty comfortable. We have the majority of that information, and we're doing pretty good at monitoring that. I'm not comfortable with secondary in high school, other than the ones I've met personally, and I've found the forms that were submitted, but they were several years old. So we do need updated forms from the parents, you know.
Well, and we have new
things
people
change.
coming in every day too. So making sure that that is something that is regularly filled out if a person enrolls mid-year and not just something that happens at the re-enrollment time, because we need to know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of food for thought. Thank you both. And I'm glad to know that that's maybe something that SHAC could take up as a thing that we need to see fixed for 26, 27.
Hey, SJ, Ms. Rashonda had a question about the
Yes. Oh, thank
equipment that Chef
Mhm.
Nate mentioned. Is it included in the budget request? That way it's guaranteed for review for next budget year, or if there's money in there for this budget year.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Yep, I've been working on making sure we have all the proper bids, and getting all that submitted. That way, that immersion blender has just been a hot topic lately too. So it was a good, easy example. But another item we would like to see, that I think will help a little bit with waste, and it definitely make our footprint smaller. I'd like to get away from all the disposable foam trays and go back to the melamine washable. Up front, it'll cost us about the same as we spend on foam for 2 months, but then we'll be, you know, seeing a return on our investment with by the third month, as far as not buying all that foam, throwing it in the trash. And you know, and especially students drop those sometimes. Sometimes the food is just too heavy and flimsy. I've dropped one making them, you know, serving in line before. So, but yeah, we're putting all that together and making sure it's available so we can get it approved.
So that's what something that you're putting in your 26, 27 budget, right?
Yes,
It's pretty much all of this year's budget is spoken for and or sort of locked as we're trying to figure out the end of the school year processes.
correct.
Okay. That's awesome. I think sending less styrofoam to landfills would be a very, very helpful thing to do, as long as, again, we got to get you fully staffed if you're going to be washing trays now too. That's more hands needed in the kitchen.
That very true. And ironically, the dish machine that will be washing said trays just broke down last week.
No.
So I was like, what's going on here? But just to put it in perspective, already this school year we've bought 10,000 foam trays. That's a lot, and we're a small school. And you know, I mean, there's a lot of 2A schools, but it just blows my mind how common it is right now for all school districts to use disposable. That's a lot. That's a huge footprint. It's a big expense. I mean, we're talking, yeah, we're talking thousands. So hopefully we can make that change. But that immersion blender gets better food on the tray, regardless what we serve on.
What are we immersing? I want to know. Is it mashed potatoes? Like what happens with that?
Mashed potatoes, you know, we can just imagine it's a KitchenAid on steroids with all the attachments. So you could go to, you know, we got that big tilt skillet where we make enough tomato basil soup for 600 in one batch. You know, so if you're blending that,
Yeah,
or
you're
if
blending it.
you know, if we were to make our
Making
own,
your own gravy.
yes, gravy. If we made our own rolls, we could, you know, if we had it in the right container, we could use the whip attachment. There's just so many options, but some small things going to make a huge impact.
Thank you. Any other questions while we're here before we move on to other business? This has been so productive, guys. Thank you so much for sharing, because I think that the more that we delve into things, the more that we're learning about how we can help support both of you in your work. That's just so essential to the health and safety of our kiddos. So other updates, let's all rejoice. Find your party poppers if you have your party popper. Like, isn't that one of the reactions you can do? In here, we have gotten our classroom snack policy approved by the board. And that was just this last Tuesday night. It's just something, yeah, there we go. You got your party popper. Something that Chiquinta helped really drive through, really coordinating with Chef Nate and I and Katrina Thomas on how we can make sure that especially our littlest learners are not going hungry in the afternoons. And it's really just clarifying the process and making sure that like there's not a question about it for staff, for parents, for students. We want it to be a really clear and open policy, which is why it's such a big win that it's been approved by the board. So that we can also work on getting some community donations. Chiquinta, would you like to share how we're feeling about it and what are some of our next steps? Because this has really been your baby.
If I could do a backflip, I would. I can do a cartwheel into the splits. That's all I got. I'm just excited for it because I know at least with the littles, they after lunch, after about an hour or so, they're done. I mean, and I see even when you're at home with your kids, what are they doing in the afternoon? They're looking for a snack, a juice, they're looking for something. And I think if having that little bit of positive distraction in the classroom would probably bring some of them back into focus and lock eyes, you know, with instruction, and maybe if they're doing group projects or whatever they're working on, and it doesn't take away from the after school snack that's supplied by the state. So if all parents and people that are involved with Rapoport spread the word, or maybe they know other organizations. I know an organization that's willing to help as long as they've got supplies. I will volunteer to go pick it up and drop it off and make sure that it matches everything that's in the policy. So I think it would be a great thing. And even parents can sign up if you send out on Parent Square. I love Parent Square. It gives that sign up ability that they can donate for the school, or if they're just like, well, I can only do it for the class, however big or however small. I think it's a win all the way around.
I agree. So excited. So this is just the beginning. Just getting it approved is just the beginning, and we're going to work on how we communicate that out again so that it's really clear for parents, for staff, for students, and it's not happening differently in different places. So that's one of the other really big wins about the policy, is that we're going to be consistent. Also, an exciting thing to announce that Chiquinta's helping push through you're on today. Okay. Will you share about Leadership Waco?
Yes, so the Waco Chamber of Commerce, or Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce, has an organization called Leadership Waco, where every year they have applications come in from leaders throughout Waco, and they select around 35 to 40 individuals out of the community from various different professions. They all get together, they learn about Waco, they learn about the economic development, they learn about city, county, state, they learn everything about the city that we live in. And I'm part of the class 42 this year, and each class has to put on a community service project. One year they did Talitha Kum, they did like a butterfly exhibit at the facility. Another one, they redid the playground for a school. And so I was thinking, when my daughter was at Fluellen, I was like, why are you so dirty? And she's like, oh, I fell on the track, I'm fine. And I'm like, how do you fall on a track? So I went to go look at it, and I walked it, and I was like, oh, I'm 47, and I almost fell a few times. And then I talked to Ms. Whitlark, and she told me about some vines, because I remember hearing the babies are always over there trying to eat the berries, and I'm like, what berries? And this vine does not die. So the Leadership Waco Class 42 is taking on the project to rebuild the track. I don't know what that's going to look like because I'm not a construction person, but collectively we'll come up with something and get that done. Also find what we can do to get rid of the vine for good so it doesn't come back. And then that expands that area for play for all the students. So I'm very excited that this is happening.
Me too. And I know that Coach K is very excited because that has been something that has been on her list the whole time that she's been doing PE over
now,
there.
we do have to have it done by our graduation in June or late May. So it should be done within this school year.
We are going to be helping by hosting fundraising through Chatter Up. So we'll have more information about that when we get closer to that. I think you're also going to work on like the materials specifically that y'all need so that we have a fundraising goal. But you can see even in this picture, which is a couple years old, all of the different terrain on the track, and it's even more overgrown now. And then all of the vegetation that climbs up on that far side. It's a lot, and it's like kudzu or something, it doesn't die. It just keeps coming back stronger the more you kill it. But maybe also there'll be some opportunities to have a parent work day to come join in with y'all or something too. I know that our community cares deeply about it, but it's really great to add some fuel to the fire with an outside organization coming in. So thank you so much. And we'll provide updates on that at our next meeting. And then finally, the other update that I have is that we did host a staff wellness lunch for our secondary campus on our staff development day. And we had about 20 people. Actually, it was all ladies. So it was kind of a Galentine's thing it ended up being. And our Texas AgriLife came out and did a heart healthy talk and provided all of the food. It was really fun. I'm hoping that we can do something very similar for elementary, Miss Ramsey. We were trying to leave you out, but mainly we had this grant for the secondary campus. So that's where we started. And everyone got to eat lunch, hear like a lunch and learn talk about heart health, and some changes that have come out about different kinds of fats to avoid and things like that. And then everyone also got to take a box home as an extra like snack afterwards. And they brought a big R to put the cheese and the crackers in. It was so cute. And we were so sad we had to throw it away because it had, food residue on it. But I was like, it was so sweet that they brought all this in and then kind of tied it in with Valentine's Day and protecting your heart. So that was another thing that just recently happened on our staff development day. And that's all I have, and we're out of time. So if anyone has other thoughts and questions, go ahead and chime in. I know I'm not been very good at looking at the chat. Go ahead, Chiquinta.
It's just one. I promise I will be quiet. I know you guys hate to see me coming in this meeting. I know. But
I love to see you coming.
I know we focus on the students' health, wellness, the whole student, but what about that of staff? Is there a moment where staff can go and talk to the counselor if they're having some sort of mental health need or support? Is there is there a quiet panic room? Is there a axe throwing room? Is like, you see what I'm saying? I know we've got the nurse, but that may be more physical wellness and may not have an emphasis on, well, like basically what can we do for staff? If we can maybe consider that in a future meeting to discuss.
Definitely. Definitely want to talk about that because it's hard when everybody's feels like they're drowning a little bit in education to find someone who can provide that outlet. Yes, let me add that as a staff.
And maybe it's something that takes to the board, if Rashonda's still on, to consider a note to a future agenda, like what about like an external just to take away from, well, I don't want to tell this person because they work for the district and they might tell so and so. Maybe they have an outside person that comes in, because I know some companies will have an outside counselor or something, and they come in twice a month and they meet with their employees, and then that way it takes the risk off of the school in thinking that they've learned all this inside business about a coworker. And just something of that effect.
That's great. I do try to share in our it's every 2-month employee newsletter something on wellness specifically. A lot of the things, it has to do with how widely and deeply it gets communicated. We do have counseling telehealth that is at no charge for counseling appointments that are telehealth. And that has been a big win, but it's one of those things like you have to communicate it again and again to let people know, because if you don't need it at the time that you hear about it, and then later on, like I went through some really traumatic things a couple years ago where I had a lot of family health problems, death in the family, and it just felt very overwhelming. And that was the point at which I was like, I need to talk to somebody, like this is too much. And I did the telehealth and it was very helpful. But mostly it was because I knew about it because I worked in the business office and heard about it. So making sure that some of those, and that we have, discounts at area gyms if you need to get out and get moving, because that does a lot of work for stress relief. So I think that there's more that we could do in that area, and I think that would be a really great SHAC initiative. So maybe we can have a little brainstorm session where we come up with some ideas to make priorities in our wellness plan for next year.
Yeah, because I think good student health comes from employee health as well.
Agreed.
And I'm done talking.
You're good. So we skip March and we come back early April to do some updates on counseling, finishing up our Healthy School grant, and we'll kind of circle back on some of the issues that we brought up today as well. Thank you all so much for your time and contributions. We're not going to do updates today, but I do want to say thank you, because what you do is really helping us move forward to bringing Rapoport Academy to be a healthy place to learn and work. Work especially is important, like you said. Right? Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all's contributions, and I'll be in touch.